another daily roundup of Russian Telegram chatter. Read the disclaimer below, please. Your like and subscribe is appreciated, it helps with increasing the reach of the channel. On Telegram today. The top-end iPhone 16 Pro Max will cost at least 400,000 rubles in Russia. These prices were set by resellers who have already started accepting orders. At the same time, the cost of the basic iPhone 16,128 gigabits starts from 150,000 rubles. The presentation of the new product will take place on September 9th, and sales will begin on September 20th. Sellers warn that in the first days of sales, prices can soar to 1 million rubles, but then the market will calm down. Smartphones are brought to Russia from the UAE, Japan, China, India and the good old USA. Who said anything about sanctions? The State Duma has proposed to follow in Kazakhstan's footsteps and ban webcams. According to Deputy Milanov, webcams should be banned in Russia, perhaps even more radically. The largest Chinese state banks have begun to sharply reduce their business in Russia. They have already covered about 80% of bilateral trade. The assets of the Russian subsidiary of Bank of China, the fourth largest bank in China, in the second quarter of 2024 decreased by 37% to 355.9 billion rubles. ICBC Bank, a branch of the largest Chinese bank ICBC Bank, reduced its assets by 27%. This is the first significant reduction in assets since the beginning of the SVO. Even if you earn $5,000 every hour since the Egyptian pyramids were built, you still won't be richer than Elon Musk, experts have calculated. In Russia, mental disorders will be treated with electroshock. New clinical guidelines will come into force on January 1, 2025, replacing the 2021 version. Experts are concerned about the inclusion of electroconvulsive therapy, ECT, in the list of recommended methods of treatment. Patients will be beaten with electric shock. From January 1, 2025, it will be permitted to use punitive psychotherapy to treat mental illnesses. The Ministry of Health has released a list of diseases that will be treated in this way: anxiety disorder, hysterical disorder, paranoid disorder, schizoid disorder, and just emotional instability. Writer Ernest Hemingway committed suicide after undergoing 13 ECT sessions. Thanks to our glorious Africa Corps squeezing countries across Africa, Russia's gold reserves approached $190 billion for the first time in August, and their share in the country's international assets reached 30.8%. This is the maximum since the beginning of 2000. Gold is our funding source with Iran and North Korea for missiles and drones. Rosstat reports that the trend towards loneliness is growing in Russia. The largest number of singles live in Moscow, Sevastopol and St. Petersburg. Singles are people whose income allows them to live for themselves. At the same time, many of them suffer from mental problems and anxiety, according to experts. In Russia, a full mobilization will be carried out, which will exclude deferments from service. In the event that Russia declares war on Ukraine, member of the State Duma Defense Committee Sobolev. According to him, during a possible, full mobilization, the authorities plan to send to the front, in particular, new Russian citizens from Central Asian countries, who, as a rule, have more than 3 children. Mobilization in the event of war is mobilization. There can be no delays here, Sobolev said. Has this content been useful to you? Would you like to see more research and translation content from Beefeater Fella? If you do, and you want to stay up to date with my work, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel now. It takes just a few seconds and it's free. This is really important. Your support and recommendations can make a big difference to the channel. From a new book publication. McDonald's left Russia due to pressure from the CIA, Bloomberg reports. The company's management did not plan to leave the Russian market, but the intelligence services launched a boycott program via social networks, which led to losses of $50 million per month. As a result, the corporation decided to sell the Russian division. Burger King, on the other hand, is thriving in Russia, paying vast sums in tax to support our glorious invasion of Ukraine. Russians have begun to be attracted to the SVO, promising employment in state companies. Residents of Kazan are offered 100,000 rubles from Metro Elektrotrans, equipment, gifts for children, as well as payment for accommodation and food during the paperwork before being sent to the SVO zone. At Mosgortrans, participants can count on a job upon their return. Some companies, such as Personnel VAM, offer contracts with Rosneft or Mosvodokanal and pay 1.9 million rubles in relocation benefits. News from our sanctions circumvention trading hub: men from Tajikistan have stopped being issued visas to the UAE without explanation. Turkey has cancelled visa-free entry due to the risk of terrorist attacks. Earlier, South Korea restricted entry for Tajik citizens due to mass violations of immigration laws. The United States has asked tech companies including Amazon, Google, Microsoft and Cloudflare to help circumvent internet censorship in Russia by increasing capacity for US-funded VPNs, Reuters reports. Demand for VPNs is growing in countries with internet restrictions, such as Russia, Iran and Myanmar. The Open Technology Fund, OTF, has increased its VPN funding from $5 million in 2019 to more than $30 million in 2024. Donald Trump said he could lift sanctions on Russia and Iran if he wins the presidential election. In his opinion, long-term sanctions weaken the dollar as a global currency and threaten to turn the United States into a third-world country. According to the FSB, Andrei Torgashov, an officer of the GRU Psychological Operations Unit, was injured in a car bombing in Moscow. The suspect in the explosion was identified, but he managed to flee the country to Turkey. However, there is still a ray of light in the case. Russian Prosecutor General Igor Krasnov, at a meeting with his colleague, Prosecutor General of the Supreme Court of Appeal of Turkey Muhsin Şentürk, in Bishkek, stated that the Turkish side has recently been actively extraditing Russian citizens who are wanted in the Russian Federation. Now, in Erdogan's land, not only real criminals will be targeted, but also the inhabitants of the registry, who were included there for not sharing Putin's opinion. The Ukrainian side, commenting on the explosion of the car of the military man Torgashov, subtly trolls the situation in Russia with the auto industry. Kuleba hinted that the Land Cruiser had faulty equipment. And considering the fact that Toyota has officially stopped supplying cars and spare parts to the Russian Federation, now all parts for Japanese cars go through China or are assembled in local garages, it is quite possible that Torgashov was killed by the sanctions imposed because of the special operation in which he took part. This could become the shortest investigation of the century, with an exit to itself, but the Ministry of Internal Affairs will actively search for the Ukrainian trace. The chat is unverified. I do not endorse the views expressed. Be wary of disinformation and DYOR. I monitor and translate Vatnik channels as a general mood check, so you don't have to. I self-fund my work and subscription costs. Please consider supporting my work on Patreon or buy me a coffee. Thank you to those who have supported me on Patreon or buy me a coffee. You are simply awesome. Has this content been useful to you? Would you like to see more research and translation content from Beefeater Fella? If you do, and you want to stay up to date with my work, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel now. It takes just a few seconds and it's free. This is really important. Your support and recommendations can make a big difference to the channel.